I don't get to go see many movies because I don't like to go alone. And a girl came and took me to see that little movie, Heaven is Real. Is that the name of it? Yes. Well, years ago, the first time I ever went to China, I had never flown any long distance, and it takes a long time to get to China. Not as long as it does to Papua New Guinea, but it seemed very long to me. And I was on the plane with just Jesus and me. Of course, all the other people was on there, but I mean, nobody was with me. And the pilot announced, I've been over this place 3 or 4 times, and the pilot always announces that you're going over the Sea of Japan. And he said it's going to be rough, so don't get afraid. Well, it was pretty rough, and felt like I was falling half the time. And I was right over the wing of the plane. And a lot of people don't believe this, but I looked out the window of that plane, and Jesus was sitting on the wing of that plane. And he was sitting there swinging his feet and just smiling, and he looked in the window and he said, "You're going to be all right." Well, all these years since that first time I went to China, I've never told this story much because I tried to find a picture of Jesus that looked like the Jesus I saw on the wing of that plane. Well, when I went to see this movie the other day when I went, at the end of the movie they showed a picture of Jesus and a little girl had grown. That was the Jesus that was sitting in that plane. And I began to cry in the theater. I just bursted out crying. I thought, it was you, Jesus. I knew it was, but I was afraid to tell anybody. But it was that picture was exactly like the Jesus that was on that plane. He showed himself to me many times, especially in the foreign countries that I've been in. And but tonight I need to speak on Mother's Day. And I want to tell you something about first I want to say, Mary, the mother of Jesus, was the greatest and holiest mother that ever lived. God chose a little innocent girl, pure girl, to be the mother of his son. What a wonderful person to study about. And then I love the story of Hannah, she was the mother of Samuel, Hannah, while the country there was praying for a king, Hannah was praying for a child, and God gave her one. And she promised to give that child back, and that's what she did. And so, the mothers of today have changed a whole lot. A lot of young mothers come and talk to me, and usually when I worked in the hospital back then, they did a lot of abortions in the hospital, and I used to I work in surgery in the afternoons, and they didn't have many surgeries back then in the afternoons. They just had emergency surgeries. Now they have them, I think, all day long. But I used to go down to the morgue in the evenings when I didn't have a surgery to work with the kidney instruments. And I used to see those little infant babies that had been born laying down there in that morgue. And I'd walk around and I'd pick them all up in my hands. And I'd say, well, your mama didn't want you, but Jesus does. I know that every last single one of those little babies, that little movie sort of showed you that his little sister. They're going to all be there. I had little twin boys. They were my first children, and they died while they were being born. They weren't fully developed. But they're going to be in heaven. They're going to be waiting for me, and I just think they're going to run right up to me and say, "Hey, Mama, hey, Mama." Just think of all those little children that's going to be running up there. Mothers are the same the world over in a way. Now, down in Haiti, the mothers are, those poor mothers. I used to try to put myself in their places, I remember once I went 85 miles out into the area of Haiti, and there was a young nurse there named Dr. Claire from France, and she was going out there with me, and we went out, a young doctor, I was the nurse, and we went out there, and we didn't have no building or nothing for her to doctor in. We had to sit out in 110 degree heat. It was that hot there all the time. And the mothers would be lined up as far as you could see, and their legs weren't no bigger around than that, and their little babies were just like you see on television, just skinny things. And I've held them in your little baby in my arms that didn't make it out of my arms. They died in my arms, and that was a terrible thing to go through. I used to tell my translator, I said, "Gary, tell this mother something for me." tell her that her little baby won't live to go back to her hut. But it's going to a place where it ain't never going to be hungry no more. It ain't going to have no sores all over its little face from scabies. It ain't going to be flies all in those sores. And it ain't going to look up at you with its eyes and just asking for something to eat. It's going to a place where it's going to have a robe and a crown. It's going to Jesus. And I said, tell this mother for me. And the mothers were so pitiful. And I said, tell this mother for me that she can go back down. And just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them accepted the Lord. In the Bible it says a little child shall lead him. And I believe those little children gave their lives so that their mother could come to heaven. And it's wonderful. Well, you leave it down there in Haiti. They're allowed to worship the Lord. They are. But I went there many times, and I worked in the Grace Children's Hospital there, where they just have little babies with HIV and TB. That's all in the hospital. And I used to wonder, why would they bring the little children in here that's dying anyway, and feed them and let the little children on the streets die? They don't have any food. But it was the Catholic Church's hospital, and they fed them. And I used to pick those little things up, poor little things, knowing that they wouldn't live very long. I left Haiti and I went to mainland China. And that was when I saw Jesus on the wing of the plane. Well, in mainland China, the mothers can only have one baby. And if they have, I think they may have changed that a little bit now. Way out in the country areas, sometimes they have two because the government don't know about it. But they don't let them have but one. If they have two, they don't give them any food to feed them. So they know that somebody has to starve if they have two children. They're the little children that the mothers love their children. They love them deeply because it's the only child they have. But do you know that most of those little children don't ever get to hear the name of Jesus Christ because they're not allowed to tell them anything about Jesus? It's in the underground church in China. I've been there many times, and it's just the most glorious church you've ever been in. I'm telling you, it's thousands and thousands of Chinese worshiping God, knowing that if the communists catch them, they'll kill them. I wonder how many of us would remain a true Christian if we knew that would happen to us. But there it's true. And the mothers there just love their little children so much. And a lot of times they have girls. And they don't want girls. They want a boy. So the little girls are taken and laid out along the side of the road. And it's legal to do it, to lay them there and let them die. Well, the older Chinese people don't believe in that, and they take them to these places called orphanages. And God allowed me, that little old scrawny, ugly girl, God chose to go in many places in the world. Let me tell you this story before I do that. When I was a young mother, I was paralyzed, and I had a deterioration of the cervical spine, and they did 4 big surgeries on me and took my hip bones and tried to place them in my spine, and my hair turned this color. I was only 30 years old when I woke up from that surgery. My hair was this color, and I said to the doctor, "Doctor, what did you do to my hair?" He said, "I didn't do anything." He said, "Ever so many people in the world, when you keep them asleep a long time, their hair will change color." God had a purpose for that. He has a purpose for everything in our lives if we totally give it to Him, like Henry did. I tell you, I went to Hong Kong and I met Dr. David Abney, and he used to write for World Vision. I think he's in heaven now. And he met me there, and he said, he was from New Zealand, and he said, "Say, Mrs. Mary, I'm going to stick a few Bibles in your luggage. The Chinese won't open your luggage." I said, "How do you know?" He said, "I've been there for many years." And he said, "All they will do is touch your hair. They will not open your luggage." I said, "Well, suppose they do." He said, "Well, then you'll get a great chance to witness to the prisoners of China." He put Bibles in my luggage, and they didn't look. They just kept looking at my hair. God turned my hair this color so I could go into China and take Bibles. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? I'm telling you, our God is a marvelous God. He can do anything. And it don't matter who you are. You might be an ugly little little scrawny girl. But God has a great purpose for you. Now, you might not go to China and all these places I've been, but you know right here is the greatest mission field in the world. Did you know that? Even in mainland China, the Christian people there, the ones that are Christian, say they want to come here to witness to the people and tell them what it's like to suffer for Jesus. Jesus said, pick up the cross and follow me. And you know, if we pick up that cross and follow Jesus, we're going to have a hard time. Amen. We're not going to have an easy time. And I've never had an easy time in my life. But you know, I thank God for every time I've climbed the mountain. I thank Him for every time that I've had some experiences that you wouldn't believe. And I can't tell about them all tonight. There's no way I can.